Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, coming at you more 40k goodness. Today we are going to be working on the Mandrakes, the new Mandrakes for the Dark Eldar range that came out in the Kill Team Nightmare box set. Now I do know that the Kill Team Nightmare box set did sell out incredibly quickly, and I am sorry for anyone who did not get their hands on a copy. The gangs will of course be available separate in the near future, and you can pick up as many Mandrakes or as many Night Lord squads as you want then. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing the Mandrake. Like I said, I did the Night Lord in last week's video, and I wanted to do the Mandrake for anyone curious about it in today's video. The only difference is I'm not crazy on the traditional scheme of the Mandrakes, and I've got 10 of them to paint, so I'm going to be painting up one in a new scheme that I like more. More kind of like Japanese aesthetically styled kind of thing. I don't really like the skin kind of trousers that they wear. I don't really like the really dark skin. I want to go for something a little bit kind of different. My inspiration is kind of the like elf prince from Hellboy kind of idea, maybe. We'll see how that pans out. So if you're curious to see how this turns out, stick around to the end of the video. Before I get into it, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of my active patrons. Without you guys, I could not continue doing what I'm doing. I could not make all these videos every single week. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. If you're curious and you want to see more content from me, my patrons do get an extra vlog video every single day, 5 days out of the week. They get kept up to date on projects that are happening. They help me decide on projects that I'm going to do, and generally just help me kind of stay sane on a daily basis. So that's really cool. If you're interested in that and you also want to get invited to a private Discord server, there's links in the description below and you can jump in with that. Okay, without further ado, let's jump in and get a Mandrake painted. And here is the Mandrake in question. I decided not to go for any of the extra special ones that are designed for Kill Team, as I will not be using this gang in a Kill Team setting. I'm going to be using it in Warhammer 40,000. Therefore, I'm just going to build 10 generic ones, maybe a sergeant if there is such a thing in the squad. I'm not actually 100% sure if there's a leader of a Mandrake unit. I need to double check that. But just the traditional kind of flaming hands and awesome swords. The models got sprayed Chaos Black, and then they got a zenithal spray of Grey Seer. This is how I start every single model pretty much. It gives me a really great base coat for my contrast. It's not too bright, it's not too dark. I think it works perfectly. From there, we moved up to Pterodon Turquoise. Now, why did we jump up to Pterodon Turquoise? Because it is the base coat for the armor color on the rest of my Dark Eldar army. And I wanted these miniatures to be able to blend in and match with the army. When Squad of 10 is done and they're put on the shelf for the rest of my Dark Eldar, I wanted them to feel like a part of it. Mandrakes are an awesome addition to the Dark Eldar range. They have such kind of rich and bizarre and funky lore. And one of my favorite pieces of their lore is this. This vile breed of their species is secretly feared even by other Drukhari, for a Mandrake can pull itself into any region of space-time through another being's shadow, emerging with a sibilant hiss to sink its frigid claws and teeth into flesh. Could you imagine fighting something? Like, you could be in any setting in the world. You could think of yourself as in a safe bunker on a starship, light years away from any other enemies, and then some horrible Dark Eldar demon pulls itself into being out of your shadow and kills you. Like, just that as a concept is just awesome, and I love them. I used to have a bunch of these guys in metal back in the day. I never actually got around to painting them, which was sad. So I am very happy to have the new plastic versions of them now. I'm getting them cleaned up and on the tabletop. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I did want to shy away from the traditional scheme. It just doesn't sit right with me. I don't like the skin cloak look. I don't know what the name of the like Japanese samurai trousers are, you know, the ones that like flare out. They always reminded me of that. And I always like the aesthetic as, you know, something close to, you know, there's like demons in like Japanese mythology with that kind of same aesthetic, the burning, the like demonic heads, those same kind of flowing trousers, and then like obviously katanas. But these guys always reminded me of that. I love it so much, and I just wanted to play into that a little bit. So I'm gonna go for a pallid pale skin. Instead of skin, it's gonna be cloth to match in with like the army color. And then, like I said, you've got the kind of jet black hair obscuring most of his face. He's just peeking through it from the shadows, which I think is even more menacing than before. So after getting a couple of base coats on, metallic, some of the Pterodon Turquoise, and black for the hair and his belt, it's actually now time to shade the miniature, and I haven't touched the skin yet. It is still just the base coat of Grey Seer from the spray, and from this, like I said, the Colia green shade will add a really nice touch of texture to the skin and shade all the other parts perfectly, once again pulling it into that kind of greeny bluey hue which most Dark Eldar miniatures kind of belong into.
I think everything is all about that kind of the subtle shadow shifts of color that most armies have. And like I said, I love doing the kind of turquoisey blue scheme for the shade on all my Dark Eldar models, vehicles. Even like having metallics have that kind of shimmer of a greeny blue, I think just makes even the metal look a little bit more exotic and a little bit more alien and a little bit more Dark Eldar. So once the shade has dried and I got some texture paste on the base, dry brushed up and the race rimmed black, he is in a really nice position to start the layering process. What we're going to do is we're going to jump up to Pallid Witch Flesh. I'm going to be working from this from a wet palette. And yet I'm going to take my time and very carefully layer up the skin. The reason I say very carefully is obviously when I'm going through and layering up the bits of face, it is between strands of hair. You need a fine pointed brush and a little bit of patience. Now, if it doesn't go your way and you accidentally hit some of the hair, it's okay. There's a reason why we're highlighting the skin first, and we'll highlight the hair pretty much at the end of the entire painting process. And it is because if we make some mistakes, when we do the highlighting of the hair, we can repair those mistakes. Simple as. But trying to keep it as neat as possible is obviously a benefit and a bonus. As you can see, I'm following around the skin, trying to leave all of those deep recesses with that kind of pallid with the turquoisey color. Just like those runic scripts that are like across his whole skin, it's like it's been branded into them. I don't want them to be like red and sore. I want them to be that same Dark Eldar color, the kind of green. There was back in the day a named character, a Mandrake, who had an awesome story and he played quite a large part in the lore. If you can go back and figure that out, you can go check it out for yourself. But he was a particularly cool character. And something that I wish we had received a model for as well. So maybe with the release of the plastic one, we may see this character make a return. I mean, so far we've been seeing kind of Phoenix Lords showing up with their aspect warriors. I know Mandrakes aren't exactly an aspect warrior, but having a character version of them I think will be pretty cool. Sons of Horus Green was then my color of choice to highlight the cloth. Once again, it is the same color that I used to highlight the armor on my Dark Eldar warriors. But how I'm applying it is slightly different. This is much more of kind of like a feather technique, a scratchy technique, so that even if you had these two models beside each other and the tones are similar, it's not going to just look like armor plated cloth. It's going to look like its own thing. So I'm going to take my time with this and try and get some really nice lines on it. Obviously, he's not wearing a lot of cloth. It's just, like I said, those, if anyone could tell me those Japanese trouser name thingies, that would be fantastic. I've always liked to look at them, they're super cool. I had originally, back in the day, had this idea of doing Dark Elf Executioners. And I was going to take an entire unit of 40 of these guys and give them the long blades from the the Eldar Wraithguard. So they would all literally have katanas and the Japanese clothes. And I think it would have just looked so epic as this one big horde unit of like Ronin or something. It would have been epic, but unfortunately that never came about. So it's one of those things that a project that just slipped me by. Talazar Blue is what I did for the base coat of the Wreathing Fire in his hand. Now, once again, traditionally this is a bright kind of like a toxic green color, but I wanted to stick with the blues, just a little bit more natural. It doesn't have to jump out as much. I like it. Like I said, this thing is a shadow demon. So I think having a little bit of blue flashing about in the darkness is going to be really cool. I'm also going through the same process with his eyes that I am with the flame. So he's going to have the glowing blue eyes. When I say eyes, it's only eye. The other one is covered by hair in this, and it's quite hard to paint. So it's not something I'm going to focus on in the video, but it is there. And other Mandrakes will have more of their eyes exposed. And you can follow along and do the same thing if you so choose. If you are following along in this video and your Dark Eldar are a different color, like if they're yellow for instance, all you do is substitute the cloth color here for the whatever armor color you use on your Dark Eldar, and then you can paint the metallics the same, the skin the same, all the rest can be exactly the same. You just swap in that color for your own one to make it match in with your army if that's something that interests you. Now it's time to work up that flame, make it pop a little bit more. So we're going to go 1000 Suns Blue, and we're going to highlight the kind of tops of all of the flames. Try and make it pop a little bit more and stand out. Remembering that this is just a basic infantry piece. I'll be painting up the kind of batch of the rest of them sometime soon. It's not a character. You don't have to spend hours and hours and hours getting paint on him. You want to get the whole squad done in a day or two and then move on to the next project. Obviously, Dark Eldar armies are not to be scoffed at. There's a lot of miniatures, a lot of cheap armor. Lots of big sails and flat areas. It's like a Dark Eldar army is one of the most beautiful armies that exists in Warhammer 40,000. But it's definitely not an easy one to paint, so bear that in mind. Don't go too crazy. Ahriman Blue will be the final highlight on the blue. As you can see, I'm just going kind of less and less each time, adding the final highlight, making it pop. And like I said, I was following along and doing the same thing with his eye, his one eye that you can see. Once again, super pleased that we have another Dark Eldar plastic kit ready to go. There's not really a lot left in their range that needs to be turned into plastics. There's only a couple of units left, and I am very much looking forward to them getting done and having the entire range. Dark Eldar, it's definitely an army that I think at some point I will have a 10,000 point army of. A couple of armies I take to ridiculous size, like my Kriegs or my Tyranids. Tau are quite large. And I feel like the Dark Eldar force is going to be another one that's just going to be quite large. It's one of my favorite armies, and I love it. I want everything in multiples. So yeah, let me know if you guys want to see more Dark Eldar videos on the channel. I do have a Tantalus, which is a massive project. All it is constructed and just left there. I'm just waiting for the day where I take a lot of time and I get it done. So Mandrakes crewing that would actually be pretty cool. He did not photograph all that well. He was kind of a difficult one to show off in photos, so I do apologize for that at the end. I hope you did get a little bit from the 360 video I showed you just before this. But I'm super pleased with the final result. I hope you guys are as well. And I hope you learned something from the 2 videos I did for this particular Kill Team box set.
Okay guys, and there we have it, a finished Mandrake. Ready to basically put on the tabletop and play the game with. I've got 9 more of these guys to paint. This scheme is not complicated. You can get it done with only a couple of paints and not too much time. It was quite an enjoyable process. And I do like the fact that I went with the kind of turquoisey blue, not really turquoise, you know what I mean, that kind of dark greeny blue color for his trousers, meaning that him as a squad will match in with the rest of my Dark Eldar army really nicely. Whereas with the traditional scheme, I don't think they match in all that well. And that's something that just kind of annoys me a little bit. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my take on Mandrakes. If you did, make sure you give the video a like. Ask me any questions you want in the comments below, and I'll get back to each and every single one of you guys. And make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on all future uploads on the channel. Alright guys, thank you so much for sticking around to the end. I'll see you in the next one.